Hi, I want to make a video on I want to make a video on cognitive dissonance, and I want to cover about the roundabout to cognitive dissonance. So like a roundabout when you're driving around a roundabout, the roundabout to make it seem like it's not really a contradiction. Because sometimes you can go around and realize, okay, this person, like say, like a mass murderer, some other troubled individual has cognitive dissonance. They like this, but they find it repulsive. That's some cognitive dissonance. But you realize, okay, they liked it to begin with, so what made them hate it? They still desire it. That's still something they desire. But what caused the person to hate it? Obviously, that's not a contradiction. It's something that they like, sort of like you have a guilty pleasure. It makes you feel guilty, but you'll love it, right? You want to blow a load in it or something. I don't know how it is. Yeah, you want to do something. Ooh, oh yeah, yeah. So you want to do something kind of Dr. Evil, right? You want to do something like that, only with your pinky. It's very stinky because you stuck it up your butt. And that's your guilty pleasure. You stuck your pinky up your butt and you did this. And you did this. Yes. Obviously, that's very meaningful. Anyway, yeah. So yes, obviously, we all have our guilty pleasures, and I mean that's predicated upon a cognitive dissonance. Here makes you guilty, but it's a pleasure of yours, and that's essentially what it is: a pleasure against a some kind of desire you have, and pleasure you find something in, against some kind of something that you find repulsive. You find it repulsive intellectually, and it's along the intellectual and something that you find satisfying. The guilty pleasures, intellectual versus psychological or emotional, along those same lines, and having that dissonance based on those two contradicting feelings, based on two different contradicting points of view, based on what you desire and what you're trying to satisfy and whatever. So sometimes, yeah, I mean, um, those can become problems, obviously, but that doesn't mean that there's not a reason. I mean, you can say it's this, but reality it's you could say it's bumping. Okay, this is cognitive dissonance, but you can realize it's a horseshoe. It could go around, you can realize, or the other way around. You can realize there's a roundabout. Okay, led here, you know, like a family tree, and all of a sudden you can see what exactly. There's a roundabout that leads to something else. And that's exactly what can happen. It's not really hard. You can realize it's not this, it's this, or it's just the rainbow, right? Double rainbow? You want a double rainbow? You want a triple rainbow? Yeah, whatever. You can have whatever you want, dear my friend. So yes, yeah, there's purpose and stuff, and yeah, the roundabout. How? I mean, obviously. Uh, so yes, obviously to me. Obviously, I can say that to me. So just deal with it for a while. I'll try to get it out of my repertoire of words to rely on when I have nothing to quite say at the moment, as a good way to continue a sentence, streamline one. I know you don't like that much. Um, I'm sure you love it, because I say so. At least in my opinions are like that. When I say that, in my opinion, I can say obviously, and in my opinion, I say you can like it. Yes, because I'm in denial. The round of, but I know better. That's the difference. That's the difference. Recognize that. You're too stupid. I have to make the distinction for you, right? So the roundabout's a cognitive dissonance. And we can all realize, you know, he finds sex repulsive. But he loves it. It drives him fucking insane. He wants it, right? He wants the sex. He wants to lick it, right? Lick it and dick it. Like, you know, click it or tick it. It's lick it, dick it, right? Lick the dick. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna be vulgar. Yeah, so anyway. Yes, so yeah, I mean, that's it, really. That's really it. I guess I'm just buying time for this video. I mean, really, it's just a roundabout. You have cognitive dissonance. There's two contradictions. Like I've mentioned before, these contradictions don't mean much of anything. There's not a real contradiction because contradictions don't exist in existence except in here. I mean, in here, it doesn't, it's just a projection at that point, but it still exists as a electrical interaction, but the thought process itself is kind of, you stick it in your finger in your brain, all of a sudden it disconnects the whole idea because it's based on the thought processes. And the thought processes themselves, the synapses in the brain, they're not misfiring, they're firing a certain way, and there's no contradiction because they happen to be a brain damage or whatever. It's just the reality change, and even though you have brain damage, doesn't mean reality is contradicting itself. Just reality has changed because reality defines what's going to happen, not happen. Reality defines the truth, and it doesn't matter what happens because reality is controlling within the realms of what is possible, because reality creates the existence perfectly, because that's how existence is. I draw a picture. I don't think I drew the picture that well, but reality made the picture so through my existence caused it to happen a certain way, because life existence created the picture through me. My perception of the picture is, oh, I can't draw a picture the same way reality creates a light, or reality creates a tree that grows out of the ground. I mean, obviously, we're controlling and interacting with the environment. I cut a tree in half, and therefore I've made my effect on the tree. Sort of like I made my effect on a picture. But the reality is making me, using me as an interaction tool to move and interact with the environment. And just like wind blowing leaves off a tree, or whatever other interaction that happens without a consciousness or a value creator. It's something that exists regardless. An interaction, we just happen to make the interaction. It doesn't matter if I think it was good. I can't, be as majestic. I can't make a drawing as realistic as reality itself, but reality is making the drawing through me, and the drawing is reality based on the fact that it exists. So like making the distinction: is Donnie Duck real, Donald Duck real, or is Daffy Duck real, or is Bugs Bunny real, is Mickey Mouse real, is Wile E. the Coyote real, or whoever, Looney Tune, cartoon, whatever. They're real as concepts. The real is on drawn on paper and on there, and then their interaction, but they're not real in the sense that they're real things existing in this interactive society or in this reality. It's something that exists. It's something I can interact with personally, other than, say, flipping the pages to make an animation. It doesn't exist beyond something flat on a piece of paper, or as an idea, a distinction, like you draw, you make a little fluffy toy out of them or something. He exists in that way, but he doesn't exist as a sentient being. Then again, you can just call your coyote Wiley, and all of a sudden, oh, Wiley Coyote exists, he's right there. But that's not the same thing. We're talking about the character. Sort of like, are we who we are now as we were 5 minutes ago? Oh, is Wiley Coyote the stuffed bear or the stuffed animal the same thing as the cartoon? I mean, no, it's not, but obviously that's besides the point. Sort of like it wouldn't be, the distinction between those two things can exist. So yeah, besides the point, I want to get off on the subject too much. There is a distinction besides the point, so yeah. The range, yeah, so there's cognitive dissonance, but we can realize there's a horseshoe or a roundabout to realize exactly what's leading to here, whatever amount of turns you can take. There's something going on, and it doesn't always require because there's no this. There's always a reason, because life allows that reason to exist, because life isn't this, it's this. Unless you're punching. I mean, life can have two cars bounce into each other, but that doesn't mean that the one car is going to be moved back more than the other one. There's an interaction. And we're applying it sort of like the equilibrium idea. There's an interaction that's going to happen, and there's going to be intricacies that happen a certain way, even though we can't see them all. Even though we say equal and opposite reaction. One car is, the tractor trailer is going to knock back the car even more. And that's where the cognitive dissonance doesn't exist. Or like, you're going to have a magnet bouncing back and forth, something that exists, the positives and negative. But that positive and negative existed to begin with. That has to be separate, and you're getting closer. If there's movement that can allow forward and backwards, there's not a real cognitive dissonance. There's an allowance of something that you could go around. You could push the magnet towards it. You can have the magnet just go on the other side. There's a bunch of intricacies and a bunch of ways you can realize things are not just bouncing against each other. But that doesn't even apply to the real subject. And the real subject is there's always a way. There's always a logical conclusion, a logical path leading to it. It's not always this. It's not even this. It's just this leading to something else. You can view it as this. It's an easy, simplified way of looking at it. And it exists as a concept or a misconceived concept, but it exists as a concept and interaction happening in your brain, but it doesn't exist anything beyond that. It's not the same thing that's existing in reality itself. Okay, I'm tired. Anyway, yeah, so that's it really. There's nothing else to add on the subject. There's always a way to realize there's not always a contradiction. Obviously, like I've said, contradictions and things like that don't really exist. They exist as concepts to maybe get a point across, or an easy roundabout way, or an easy detour, an easy way to make a point or get to a conclusion, or where you're stumping yourself. And that stump itself exists as a flaw in your psychology, but it's something that exists as a misinterpretation of the reality. But it exists in and of itself as a thought process. But the thought process is controlled by an A/B function of electrical synapses, firing in the brain, and chemicals firing in the brain. So about those mixtures and how the logical conclusion leads to one thing to another exists as a very, very functional logical phenomenon that exists in and of itself innately, inevitably based on the reality that exists that's creating these things to begin with, the physical process that creates them. So that's really it. So if I have anything else to add on the subject, I'm not going to make this a long outro, so thank you. And if I have anything else to add, I'll add it in another video. So thank you. Until next time.